So Rick, tell us about your book and a little bit about why you wrote it.
Sure. I've been in recovery for 22 years from alcoholism, and in those 22 years, I have learned about and implemented many tools that have made my life so much better. And as a result of that, I have this passion to share these tools with others who are in the same condition I was and who need the same kind of help I did. So one of the ways I've implemented this kind of giving back is through stories I've written for many different periodicals, and feedback on those stories has been very rewarding to me, in that people said that they really helped them in their recovery. So with that in mind, I decided to write Under Construction and give a dedicated effort to explaining and writing about these tools.
So can you tell us a little bit about who you wrote the book for?
Sure. I wrote the book really for three major groups of people with three separate objectives. The first group would be those new to recovery, because I know that it takes time to find and understand tools that get presented, and my hope is that in the format and the way I've written and described these tools, the process of obtaining them and implementing them might be much faster. So that's for the new people. For people already in recovery who have been hearing about and implementing these tools along the way, it's more of a reminder. It's probably we've heard these things, but to look at them on a regular basis helps us remember what the tools are, when we should use them, and how they're implemented. And the third group would be for those who are affected by addicts in their lives, family, friends, workers. And the idea here is for those people to be able to get an understanding of how difficult addiction is, and probably more importantly, what tools are available to the addict to help them lead a better life.
So how should readers use the book? Do you have suggestions for them?
I do have suggestions. First of all, I think just by nature what we're all going to do is just skim through the book, get familiar with its content, with the format, with the way it's laid out, so that would make a lot of sense. But secondly, I would suggest that the reader reads the book from front to end, and before doing so, ask God for help to point us to particular areas that we need help in that are important for our growth. And then the third thing would be is to use it as a daily reference guide, as a daily reference tool for when you run into particular problems that you've read about in the book, and you can be reminded of what's going on with you in this area and what tools available to deal with this on a particular date. And the other thing is, I really believe that the questions that were thought out are going to be helpful in terms of, after reading the tool, think about the questions, and in a journaling kind of sense, write thorough answers and honest answers to those. You might decide it makes sense to share them with your sponsor or your mentor, or those questions may be used in a group setting for like a discussion format for many people in recovery. Those would be my ideas.
So Rick, your recovery is from alcoholism. However, you state in your book that these tools can help people with any kind of addictions. Could you talk a little bit about that, please?
Sure. In my years of recovery from alcoholism, I've found myself in different meetings with people with different types of addictions, and there were some real common themes. One of those is the desire to escape from life on life's terms, to not have to deal with reality, but instead numb it through some addiction. Another very clear thing is that any addiction steals from us. It steals our peace, our joy, our freedom. Relationships suffer. That is a definite common thread. Another very clear and sad thing is that from a spiritual sense, all addictions move us further and further away from the person God meant us to be. So with these common tendencies, what I found very noticeable is that in discussions in these different meetings of addictions, because the tendencies are similar, sometimes the tools tend to be talked about very similarly. So things like helping others, not isolating, but joining in a fellowship, calling someone when you're hurting. Those kinds of things seem to be brought out in all meetings of addiction. So I think although symptoms are different and the things addicts do differently with their substances or abuses are different, I think many of the tools or solutions tend to be the same.
So the main title of the book is Under Construction. What does that term under construction mean for addicts in recovery?
Well, let me tell you how the title came about. I was in a recovery meeting, a 12-step meeting, and I was actually talking about a problem or a couple problems that I have that just linger on, and it was like, if it's not that, it's something else. And sort of in a statement of frustration, I said, I guess I'm just under construction. And that really triggered a really good meeting about the discussion that we're all trying to make progress, and we're doing the best we can with what we have today, but we're all needing to realize that we're not going to hit perfection. So we have these struggles, we get through them, we make some progress, and then new ones emerge. So this is okay, and the point is that this is what keeps us strong in our recovery program and close to God, because we need that to continue to grow.
And the subtitle of the book is 25 Life-Building Tools for Addicts in Recovery. Tell me more about this concept of tools and where and how you learned about them.
So, this concept of tools that help us deal with life on a daily basis is extremely important to me. And it actually became extremely important the day I quit drinking, because alcohol was the tool I used to deal with everything. So when that was taken away, I don't know if I realized, but it occurred to me that I needed to get something to replace that alcohol, and through many sources these tools were presented to me. So the point is, what do you do with things like anger, resentment, boredom, loneliness, frustration, raising kids, difficulties at work? I used to drink over those things. So the answer very clearly to me is you replace them with a set of tools. Things like calling your sponsor, going to a meeting, helping another person. The list goes on, and they're actually included in my book. So that is a very clear thing. We can't just stop drinking and not replace it with anything, and that's what the program of recovery is about for me, is a new and better way of life through these tools. So where did they come from? They came from the collective wisdom of hundreds of people talking to hundreds of people and discussing these tools. They also came from written form, recovery books, religious books, doctors, psychologists, pastors, from a whole myriad of sources, many spiritual, many recovery-based. But that's, in essence, what the sources of them. And then one important point about this is my role in this. These are not my tools in any way. I did develop them. I'm a scribe, a translator. So the idea would be for me to do my best to describe these tools and put them in the hands of addicts who are suffering, to help them in their recovery.
And on a final note, how will you determine if this book is a success?
I thought about that, and like probably many of you, some pretty common thoughts came to my mind. One would be, how many books do I sell? How much profit is there? How much positive feedback do I get on the book? But to be honest, those thoughts fade away sometimes into a whole different thing, and that would be, this book will be a success for me if addicts, whether they're new or been in recovery for a while, read the contents and they get help. It helps them in their recovery. That's what I need to know to determine if this book's a success. And this might sound a little dramatic, but I mean this. If there's one person who's really hurting and they get this book and they smile and have a good day and it makes their life better, just that event will make this book a major success for me. Thank you.